So the very first thing you need to figure out is when you can put the trowel machine on the slab. So as you can tell, they're only sinking about a 1/4 inch at most into the concrete. I like to get on there when you can only sink about 1/8 of an inch. But this is a small trowel machine. This is a 36, so you can get on there a little wetter. You can see out here the rest of it. It's just too wet out here. So this is one of the challenges. You can see here, my fingers are not really sinking in. But then when you get out here, my fingers sink way more. So this one's not ready for the trowel machine. That one is. So this is one of the challenges that we face because the trucks, we are 45 minutes away from the plant, so they are very inconsistent sometimes, as you can tell. So what he's gonna do, he's gonna run the pan, and you wanna do kind of like this pattern. You wanna go this way, and then you turn, and then you come back right through the center again. And then you follow the same pattern over and over the whole slab. Whenever you're done with that, then you do it the other way, perpendicular, like this. All right, so keep an eye on that, because that's the pattern that he's gonna follow. Now, speed is another thing that you need to keep in mind. When you start off, if you don't have a float pan, maybe the only thing you have is combination blades, that's fine. Just run them as flat as possible. If you try to pitch the blades too much, you're gonna scrape some of the cream that's on the surface, and then you're gonna make your slab uneven. So right now what he's focusing on is getting the aggregate, which is below the surface, nice and flat. The surface is gonna look pretty bad right now. That's okay, don't worry about that right now. Run your blades really, really flat. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is you cannot trowel while you still have bleed water on the surface. What happens, you'll end up trapping that water, and you could potentially cause delamination. So with the float pan, it's not as critical because the float pan really opens up the surface. So it's harder to trap bleed water with a float pan, but it's still not a good practice. He's kind of getting to where the bleed water is. He's gonna turn around and come right back through the middle. So the way you move the trowel machine back and forth is you lift or lower the handle. If you lift the handle, it's gonna go left. If you lower the handle, it goes to the right. See right there, you see him, it's hard to see, but he's actually lifting on the handle slightly, and that makes the machine go left. Of course, we have to keep in mind that the blades on this trowel machine, they turn clockwise. If they turn counterclockwise for whatever reason, then the handle, you're gonna have to do the opposite. All right, so now he's going perpendicular to the previous pass. Still maintaining the same pattern. There's a ton of different blades that you can use. You're technically not polishing concrete, but you're trying to do the same thing, okay? You're just making the surface tighter and tighter, and that's how you end up getting it slicker. However, on the first couple of passes, you are not worried about the surface. You're simply trying to get that aggregate, which is below the surface. You're trying to get that nice and flat. Different types of blades that you can use. I prefer the float pan because it has the largest surface area, and it just does a much better job than anything else. What makes the float pan so good is that if you have a low spot, it's simply going to bridge over it. It's not going to follow the low spot. It's going to bridge over, and you're going to actually fill the low spot. And if you have a high spot, you have so much friction that it's going to cut it down. So it's going to take the highs from the highs and put them in the lows. You end up with a much flatter slab. So the next best thing that you can use if you don't have a floating pan is get you some floating shoes. The floating shoes attached to your current blades, whether it be finishing blades or combination blades, and they're just a larger surface, okay? So they just make it bigger. And again, you're just trying to get as much surface area on those blades as possible so that you can flatten the aggregate, all right? If you don't have a float pan or float shoes, the next best thing is combination blades. Combination blades are meant, like the name implies, as a combination. You can float and finish with them. That's why they're not really the best at either. But if you only have one set of blades and one trowel machine, then you want to put combination blades on that thing, okay? From better to worse, you have float pan, then you have float shoes, then you have combination blades, and then you have finishing blades. The finishing blades are just meant to finish. They're very narrow, and you'll see kind of the progression as you go from float to finish. The blades just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So by the time you get your finishing blades on there, that slab is already pretty hard, and you're not really going to mark it with as you walk on it, maybe just slightly, and you're going to be pitching those blades pretty steep. That's what's going to really start making your surface tight and start to make it shine. You can do that with combination blades as well. It's just not going to be as tight as if you had finishing blades, but I actually don't like my slabs to be finished as tight, because most of my slabs we stain or seal, and you don't want a super tight slab when you're trying to seal it. After that, you get into specialty blades. You get into your poly blades, and then you have blue steel blades, and then you have stainless steel blades, and then just all kinds of different blades that you can use. But as you guys know, we use the poly blades for finishing concrete that's going to be stained, or if we add color to the concrete, then we definitely want to use the poly blades, because they're not going to burnish the concrete. You're just not going to get those burn marks like you would with steel blades. So anyway, this is just a crash course on finishing blades. There's all kinds of different companies that make them. We use Wagman Steel. They have a huge variety of blades. So anyway, that's what we use, but there's just all kinds types of blades, and there's also some that are meant only for riders. Rider trowel machines, these are just really big trowel machines that you ride on instead of walk behinds. Everything that we use here is walk behinds, but every now and then we'll use riders, and those are a lot heavier, so they use a much heavier duty blade. All right, so this is the trowel machine that we're gonna put on the slab now. This is an MBW F46. This is the high torque version. It has a CVT clutch. It also has a quick pitch, or they call it an easy pitch. And that's gonna come in handy for pitching the blades. So you can pitch the blades as you're finishing the concrete, like that. See that? You don't wanna pitch them that high, especially not at the beginning. You're gonna only pitch them up that high towards the end when you're just trying to burnish the concrete. Right now, we're gonna put it on the slab and we're gonna pitch it very little, almost nothing, because we're still trying to flatten the slab. The pan just got done, so now we're gonna do this one. The rest of the slab's still not quite ready for the combo blades. However, this side is. So we're gonna put the trowel machine on here, the MBW with the combo blades. We're gonna give it a couple of passes, and we're just gonna progress as needed. Then when that side is done, we're gonna take that trowel machine, bring it over here, and do the rest of it. So that's why it's a good idea to have multiple machines. Obviously, if you only have one, then that's where it really comes in handy to have combo blades, because then you can do that side over there, then you can come over here, pitch up the blades some more as needed. Now the other thing, if you only had one machine, you could also have float shoes on the blades, and then you can take them off, do this, put them back on, do that, and back and forth. It's kind of a pain. You know, if you want a flatter slab, that's what you're gonna have to do. Or like we do, we have more than one trowel machine. Run the pan with one, float with the other one, and if it's a bigger slab, then we finish with another one. First things first, turn on your switch here. Different trowel machines have different versions of it, so just make sure you turn that on. Make sure your blades are flat. So put it all the way down, and then just fire it up like normal. All right, and just do your gas slightly. You don't want to go too hard, too fast, too soon. And you see me shaking it like this. Sometimes the blades will stick, and you want to shake it a little bit. See, there it goes. All right, so it's too flat, so I'm going to pitch the blades up slightly. There it is. The last pass that he did, he went this way, so I'm going to go across perpendicular. pitch the blades up a little more. And what you're looking for is make sure that you seal the concrete. Right there, it's sealing pretty well. That's what you want. See, it's getting a little wet over here. I'm gonna go back, go this way. And again, you wanna make sure that you don't leave any voids at this point. If you do, you're gonna have a heck of a hard time covering them up later. So right now is where you start to focus on the finish. See, there's one right there. There it is, it's gone. So, again, this is where you're gonna start to focus on the finish. See, over here's a bit wet, so we come around. You wanna do the part that's dry first. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to seal it later if it gets away from you. See right there, it's not sealing well. So I'm gonna pitch the blades a little more and it's gone. So this is why I love this quick pitch setup. Right there that I need to make sure that it seals. All right, there it is. Keep going. Just follow the same pattern. Get to where it's wet, come back. Follow the same pattern. And of course, because you're walking on the slab, you're having to cover up your own footprints. That's obviously the downside of a walk behind. So I'm gonna slow it down because concrete's a little wetter over here. So I'm gonna slow it down. Maybe flatten out the blades a little more. See that right there? Gotta make sure all that gets covered up. I'm getting to the wet spot, so now I moved over to the side and I'm gonna step over here. So I don't wanna put footprints over there, but I'm not gonna be able to keep cover up right now. Walk it back. All right. Now we're gonna go and do the rest of it. Okay, again perpendicular. Here it's a little wetter, so I'm going to slow down the trowel machine. By the way, in order for me to make it go left, I lift. You see that right there? If I lift, it goes pretty fast. You don't want to go too fast. And see, to go to the right, I push down. It's hard to show you, but I'm pushing down slightly. The machine will try to go left to right on its own. It's going right to left that takes a little bit more more effort because the weight of the handle is this way towards me, so it's already pushing down on it. But anyway, you notice that I slowed it down. It's doing a really nice job right now covering up all the holes. See, we have a little too much bleed water here on the edge. I'm gonna get the guys to pull that off the slab. So I don't want to take this trowel machine over there where the bleed water is, because like I said, there's always the chance that I'll trap some of that bleed water and then the slab will delaminate. If you hit it just right, like I'm doing right now, it's very easy to do, to cover up all the holes, my footprints, all that good stuff. If you wait too long, the concrete's gonna get hard, and then you're not gonna be able to get rid of those footprints as easily, and that's when you start falling behind. And once you start falling behind, concrete waits for no one. Concrete's still gonna set up. So if you fall behind, you're gonna have a heck of a hard time catching up. That's why I prefer these high RPM trowel machines. You don't have to use it every time, but if you need it, it's there. I like to keep my lines really straight. That's just me. I think it looks better. You're not gonna see it. The whole idea is you don't want to see your lines when you're done finishing. However, as I am finishing, I like to keep my lines nice and straight, keep a nice pattern. And if we look back, you can tell where I walked. It's pretty soft right there. So I'm probably gonna do just this one last pass, and then just kind of go back to the beginning and see how wet it is. If it's still too wet, I'll wait. If not, I'll give it another pass. I added some day one on this area right here, trying to slow it down so that we can let the other one catch up. You can see over here, he's going over it with the floating pan again. It's just, we got some very inconsistent mix today on this pour, as you can tell. So that's where you really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise you can really ruin a slab, because as you saw, I can't just go all the way across. I have to kind of pick and choose the spots that are ready, and that makes it super difficult. So anyway, I'm gonna let this sit up a little longer and then I'll hit it again. So he's going slow, making sure he covers up all the holes on the concrete, because like I said earlier, if you don't cover them up right now while the concrete's still plastic, once it hardens up, it's gonna be a nightmare. And more likely you're not gonna be able to cover them up, especially the sun's starting to come out. And man, once that concrete blows up, we call it blowing up or hitting when it hits. That means it just seems like it won't dry, and all of a sudden it just hits real hard and it starts to dry real fast. If that happens to you and you have not been covering up your pinholes and all that on the surface, you'll fall so far behind. So, or the other thing that people tend to do is they'll start putting water on the surface to bring up more cream to cover up those holes. That's bad. That's bad deal for the concrete. So anyway, be careful with that. All right, so I just got done. I floated it one more time, then I gave it 2 passes with the combination blades. As you can tell, I'm starting to pitch them up already quite a bit. Right there, that should be able to tell you what's going on. And that machine over there, he's having to pitch those blades a lot more right now. Not in the spot that not at the spot where he's at right now, because it's still a little soft, but the rest of it, he's having to pitch those blades real high. But anyway, I'm gonna wait for these guys to do the edges now, and then I'm gonna hit the machine again up and down, and then we're gonna broom it. Every time you have an exterior porch or just a carport or anything that's gonna be outside, it needs to be sloped away from the main slab. This one has a 1/4 inch per foot slope, and also you have to put some kind of grip on there. You can't slick it off because there's a potential for somebody that's gonna fall. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna broom it. We use a horsehair broom, so it's just gonna be a light broom finish. I don't like the real coarse broom finish, but anyway, as soon as they're done with the edges, I'm gonna hit it one more time, and these guys are gonna follow right behind me with the broom. And that's gonna be it for this section. And now we're just gonna have to wait on the other section. You can see now he's moving pretty quick. All right, so you saw how fast he was going a while ago. Now he's going real slow because that spot is still wet. So again, I keep talking about that CVT clutch, but the ability to turn the blades real slow with high torque or really fast is extremely important for us. It's about 105 degrees right now. I don't even know what it is, but it's hot as heck. But hey, this is what we're gonna do every day. Pour concrete in Texas heat. They say if you can pour concrete in Texas, you can pour concrete anywhere. I don't know. I've always only poured concrete in Texas, but it gets plenty hot down here, that's for sure. All right, so I myself like a pretty fine broom finish, so I like to trowel at least a couple of passes with the combination blades, and then when it's almost too tight, I like to put water on the surface, run the trowel machine one more time just to bring up cream, and then broom it. I find that I get the best looking broom finish doing it this way. A lot of guys will just run the broom way earlier than this, but I think you end up with a too coarse of a broom finish. All right, here's the finished product. The front over here, it is broom finish. Everything else is slicked off. It's a hot one today. It's over 100 degrees, and I'm just so ready to go home. We'll see you guys next time. We are Texas Barndominiums. Give us a like.